she's so fine. Hell of her blows my mind. Hell of her lights my day.
What's good, guys? This video is going to be regarding Mikayla Miller, and Monica Cannon Grant shared an article that came out roughly an hour and a half ago, around 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Daylight Time today, and it's wrote by Jamil Smith via Vox.com. Excellent article, and I'm going to cover that in this video. We should be talking about the death of Mikayla Miller. A black LGBTQ high school student was found dead in the woods near Boston last month. Her family has called for an independent autopsy and is fundraising for their search for justice. It's been nearly a month since 16-year-old Mikayla Miller was found dead with a belt around her neck and tied to a tree in Hopkinton, Massachusetts. It remains unclear what happened to the black teenager, who identified as LGBTQ, both before she died and how she died. What is apparent is the girl's family does not want the local authorities to be the ones in charge of finding out. The case, which is only now starting to garner national attention, is becoming another tragic example of law enforcement failing to adequately investigate the death of a black victim, address immediate concerns raised by grieving loved ones, or communicate effectively to those demanding accountability. Mikayla's mother, Calvina Strothers, has remained vocal in her criticism of both Middlesex County District Attorney Marian and other authorities involved with the investigation. Per the family spokesperson, activist Monica Cannon Grant of Violence in Boston, Inc., the family is calling for an independent investigation and autopsy. The district attorney's office said earlier in May that the case remains open. Elected officials have taken up the call. U.S. Representative Ayanna Pressley, who represents the nearby 7th District, echoed their demand in a statement to Vox. Quote, "With far too many unanswered questions about how Mikayla died, we must have a full, transparent, and independent investigation into her death," Pressley's statement reads. "The investigation will help ensure accountability and closure for Mikayla's family and allow her loved ones and community to begin to heal," end quote. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren said in a statement that, quote, "Mikayla Miller's death was a tragedy. She and all of our LGBTQ youth and youth of color deserve to be safe. We owe her family peace in knowing that everything possible was done to find answers, including a thorough and transparent investigation into the circumstances of her death," end quote. A rally and vigil this month in Hopkinton helped shine a harsher light on the authorities' investigation to this point. Mikayla's mother and local activists repeated complaints about both the investigation and the alleged mishandling of events surrounding it. Quote, "I don't want to be a vigilante in this. I don't want to have to spend all day on the phone getting and passing along evidence in order for justice to be served," Strothers told the attendees. "What I want is for the criminal justice system to work," end quote. It was a familiar scene. A grieving family mourning the death of a black child, leveling complaints about the law enforcement apparatus tasked to investigate. If the authorities aren't yet suspicious about what happened to Mikayla, the events surrounding her death provide reasons to remain suspicious of the authorities themselves. What we know and don't about Mikayla Miller's death. The problems Mikayla Miller's family point to start with something that happened while she was still alive. The night before the teenager was found dead, she was reportedly the victim of a physical assault. On the evening of April the 17th, Strothers called the Hopkinton police and said her daughter had been, quote, "jumped," end quote, pushed and punched in the face by at least 2 people. Ryan, the Middlesex County District Attorney, told the press last week. According to Ryan, at least 2 people, a boy and a girl, were involved. Miller had a bloody lip consistent with her allegation. Monica Cannon Grant, speaking on behalf of the Miller family, said at least 5 teenagers, aside from Mikayla, were present, including one girl with whom Mikayla had recently ended a relationship. In a May 4th press conference and in a subsequent statement, Ryan appeared to signal the teenagers were not a focus of the investigation into Miller's death, citing cell phone GPS data, video surveillance, and witness accounts. The morning after the assault, April the 18th, a Hopkinton police detective was called to the Berry Acres Conservation Area. According to an affidavit reviewed by Boston's NBC affiliate WBTS, he found Miller's body hanging from a tree branch, suspended by a black leather belt around her neck. The affidavit said he saw no wounds or bleeding on her body. The scene, quote, appeared to be undisturbed, end quote, and he saw no dirt or debris on her clothing or shoes to suggest a struggle. Her phone and personal belongings were either on her person or near her body. The leaves on the ground, quote, appeared to be matted and heavily traveled, end quote, although he noted Miller was found on, quote, a heavily traveled town path, end quote. Cannon Grant said a Massachusetts state police sergeant initially told Miller's mother that her daughter had ended her own life. The family also has repeatedly claimed that an officer advised Strothers not to go to the press because doing so would reveal her daughter's sexual orientation. The state police directed Vox's request for comment to the Middlesex County District Attorney's Office, which has not yet responded. Miller's family argues the investigation hasn't been thorough or transparent. The assault is where the Miller family's complaints about the investigation's transparency begin. Violence in Boston, Inc. released a statement on May the 2nd attributed to Strothers and alleging that the Hopkinton police logged neither the attack on Miller nor the discovery of her body. A publicly available log generated and tweeted by the Hopkinton Police Department displays no information about either the assault or Miller's death. One of the first incidents on the morning of April 18th is not a jogger finding a deceased teenager, but two officers helping change a tire. The department has not yet returned a call from Vox requesting clarification and confirmation. When first asked during her May 4th presser about the claims that police told Strothers that her daughter committed suicide and why her office said the death wasn't considered suspicious, Ryan said, quote, very often, as everyone knows, things may appear to be one thing and then we learn more information. I think that is why initially we always indicate this at this time. Clearly, often things come to light as we proceed further in the case, end quote. Strothers has also openly questioned some of the early conclusions and decisions Ryan has made in the case, aside from the initial determination that her death was, quote, not suspicious, end quote. Miller had her mobile phone and belongings still on or near her person when she was found, per the district attorney. Though Strothers contends that her daughter's phone didn't have tracking data activated and that she confirmed this with Apple, Ryan indicated in her press conference last week that, quote, the phone traveled a distance of 1,316 steps, end quote, between 9 and 10 p.m. on the night of April the 17th, quote, approximately the distance between Mikayla's home and the place where her body would subsequently be located, end quote. Investigators also weren't able to obtain video evidence from Miller's residential building, neither the assault she suffered nor potentially her departure to take the steps Ryan referenced. The video system at the building was rebooted on the morning of April the 19th, the day after the jogger reportedly discovered Miller's body, erasing any footage from the prior 17 days. It is as yet unclear why investigators didn't obtain the footage before the system's reboot. Quote, it is highly unusual that there's no notation on it. It's downright suspicious, said Philip Atiba Goff, a Yale professor who previously founded the Center for Policing Equity. It is incredibly distressing to imagine that our lives, and therefore our deaths, don't rate to record, even when it's clear indications that there is a homicide, end quote. Talk is a start, but this is about action. Any death, particularly of someone so young, matters. However, given the documented difference in the manner press and public officials alike treat the disappearances and killings of black women and girls as opposed to their white counterparts, Those investigating a case need to be more cognizant of what their actions communicate. It has been about a year since a global civil rights uprising began, and while predominantly white governmental and law enforcement institutions may claim to value black lives, the proof is in the results. As evidenced by the reactions of the family and other black constituents to their actions thus far, Ryan and all of those currently investigating Mikayla Miller's death are not grasping that such care is best demonstrated through results. Words alone won't cut it. During her May 4th press conference, Ryan spoke in gushing terms about Mikayla, describing her as, quote, a beautiful child, end quote, as well as, quote, a cherished daughter, a gifted student, a talented athlete, and a loyal friend, end quote. She talked about getting to the answers concerning her death, quote, with due speed, end quote, and pledged to be forthcoming with details about the investigation, which she emphasized was ongoing. All of that sounds good. But how does the discovery of that beautiful child, dead with a belt around her neck, not appear suspicious to the district attorney investigating the incident? Why did that assessment not change after the police affidavit describing the scene surfaced? And why weren't either the assault or the discovery of Mikayla's body logged? It is more than a clerical misstep. Quote, when you've got a body like that, that's a crime scene, Goff said. If you're treating a crime scene of a black child that way, that's a level of casualness that nobody in a community who's black is going to feel okay with, end quote. And just a little bit about Vox. If you value Vox, to understand the news, you have to understand the systems that shape society. Their reporters and editors spend hours finding data, doing research, and talking to experts to clearly explain these systems, including historical context, problems, and potential solutions. Their aim is to give people clear information that empowers them to shape the world in which they live. And as you can see in their very well written article, they have referenced and cited their sources, which are clear, reliable sources. Marian T. Ryan herself, using her words, and also NBC, who obtained the affidavit. Those are two very clear sources to be able to cite from, and not some blog post or someone who feels like doing the news in their part-time. So this case is making some headway, but it does require action. I did personally go and report the GoFundMe page. I did the video on earlier. I have sent the emails to the various different people. I have made the phone calls. If you have the time and you need the numbers or you need the email addresses, please reach out to me and I will give those to you. I have no problem doing that. And I am slamming social media with hashtag Justice for Mikayla. And I'm going to continue to do so. So I just wanted to let you guys know the latest on this. And I appreciate you guys. Have a great day.